Okay, welcome guys. Today we shall be solving problems involving quadratic equations. We shall be using factorization method to solve. Okay. Okay, you can see the questions here. Find the roots of the equations a x squared plus 4x minus 5 equal to 0. That's the first equation. Then the second question here is 2x squared minus 3x minus 5 is equal to 0. And the third question is x squared minus 5x plus 6 equal to 0. So I just did this. I want to solve these three particular problems, three different problems using factorization method. You understand? So that if you don't, so that the more we solve or the further we go, the better the understanding becomes. Okay. On the first equation here, we have solution. Okay, our first question, x squared, that is a here we say x squared plus 4x minus 5 equal to 0. So we want to find the value of x. That's the roots of the equation. Okay, so this is quadratic equation, right? Okay, now okay, look at the questions here. 2x squared minus 3x minus 5 equal to 0, and x squared minus 5x plus 6 equal to 0. All right, now good. Here, look at what you are going to do. The first thing to do here is to consider the first term and the last term. This is the first term here. First term, which is what? A. Which is A. Okay? And this is the last term here. Your last term, which is what? C. Alright? So, you consider the first term and the last term. So you consider the first term and the last term, you have to multiply the two. You say first term times last term. Now, first term is x squared, right? X squared, which is this A, right? You have x squared times minus 5, which is the last term, C, okay? Times minus 5, which will give you equal to x squared times minus 5 will give you minus 5x squared. What's the next plan? The next plan now is to find or to list out the factors of these 5. You list out the factors of what? Of 5. In listing out the factors of 5, what are the factors of 5? That's the next thing, the next step. You write down the factors of this multiple of the first term and the last term, okay? So that in multiplying, taking the factors, that is the number, what that can divide this 5 without remainder. You have 1. 1 can do it. You have factors of 5. Factors of 5 are 1. Can 2 divide 5 without remainder? No. Can 3 divide 5 without remainder? No. 5 is actually a prime number. Okay, no other number can divide it except 1 and itself, so and 5 itself. Is that clear now? These are the two factors of 5. The next thing to do is, after getting these factors, then you now come down here to the equation, to the main equation itself, and that's yourself, and now try to get this second term. The second term, which is the middle term, is what? Plus 4, right? So this 4x here, what you should be doing is, if you want to use this, because definitely since we have only two factors of 5, which is 1 and itself, so we are going to use the 2. Yeah. So, but then in case of other equations, what your interest should be also is in the second term, which means the factors you are going to use, you know, the factors are going to appear in pairs, right? And the pair that you are going to use here should be the pair that will give you, if you multiply it, it will give you the multiple of the first and the last term, and also give you, if you sum it or you subtract it, or you subtract them from each other, they are going to give you what? The middle term. Okay, now in this case, now if we say 1 times 5, it is going to give us this multiple here, which is this 5 here. Then if you say 1 minus 5, which means if we attach minus to this 5, it becomes 1 minus 5, which will give you minus 4. But our middle term is not minus 4 either. Okay, our middle term is plus 4, so we won't go with plus 1 and minus 5. Now we'll now check again. If we say minus, we have already got our multiple, but then if we say minus 1 plus 5, it will give us, it's something as 5 minus 1. Okay, it is going to give us plus 4, positive 4. And what we have at this place now, this middle, is plus 4, positive 4, which means that one is okay, it is acceptable. Then we use minus 1 and plus 5, which means we are going to use minus 1 and plus 5. Okay, so you now come to substitute them here. Is that clear, guys? Now let's go. Now, so that we'll have, okay, so that in doing this, the next thing is we'll bring down this equation. Now we are going to write this equation, so x squared will remain x squared. Now minus 1, this plus 4, now this plus 4x is now going to be minus 1x, which is minus x. Okay, and the plus 5x, so that minus 1x, that is minus x plus 5x, is going to give us back this plus 4. Is that clear, guys? Then minus this last term 5 is equal to, the only thing that is changing here now is the middle term, is equal to 0. Okay, so now since we have how many entries here, or we have how many entities? We have 4, x squared, x, 5x, and minus 5. So what we are going to do is we are going to bring them and separate them into 2. Now we have x squared minus x, you see, bracket, then plus, which is this plus here now, bracket 5x minus 5 equal to 0. See how I separate them, guys? Okay, good. Now, as you've done this, so another thing is pick out the common factor of these brackets, like this x squared and this minus x. What do they have in common? What they have in common is x. X squared has one x and another extra x. Then only x here has only x. You see, it doesn't have extra x, which means it's only one single x that both of them have in common. Okay, then you now write it x, which is that single x that they have in common, bracket. If you now separate x, that is single x, from this x squared, it will remain just single x inside here. So you have single x minus, since you have already carried this, it's just one that will remain here, because what we are doing here, look at this, so because we are using factor. So if x, that x now that you want to, that you have already seen as the common factor, if that x divides this x squared, it will now remain x. And if it divides x, if anything divides itself, that thing will become 1. Okay, so that's the dividend, so it will now remain 1 here. So that even if you want to recover this particular bracket, you can easily say x times x, it will become x squared, and x times minus 1, it becomes minus x. Okay, then plus, what's the common factor of 5x and minus 5? it is 5. They have 5 in common, okay? And you bring that 5 outside the bracket so that this 5 divide this 5x, x will remain. Then minus, if this 5 divides this 5, 1, okay, equal to 0. Now, you are going to pick one from this bracket because these two brackets are common. They have everything in common, okay? Their entries are common. Then that is x minus 1, x minus 1. Then you choose only one bracket. Then this one outside the bracket, you're also going to choose that is x and the plus 5. Okay? Then you now have x plus 5 and x minus 1. That is x plus this 5 and x minus 1, just one of the brackets, okay, equal to 0. So that x plus 5 equal to 0 or x minus 1 equal to 0. Okay? Yeah, is this x plus 5 equal to 0 or this x minus 1 equal to 0. So that making x the subject of the formula, you have that x is equal to, collect like terms. Since this is 0, then this plus 5 will cross the equality sign to come here to become minus 5. Then 0 minus 5 is minus 5. Or x equal to, this is 0. When this minus 1 crosses the equality sign, it becomes plus. So 0 plus 1 is 1. That is plus 1, which is 1. So now that you have, therefore, x equal to minus 5 or 1. And this becomes your answer. Okay? This becomes your answer. Good. Okay. So having understood this, guys, let's solve the second and the third problems or the third questions in another video. Okay, so let's talk about them in another session of the lecture. Thank you.